The first time the sand shifted in Gaza and revealed a fragment of its buried past, the world barely noticed. A handful of archaeologists in the early 20th century whispered about it in academic halls, dusting pottery shards and brushing off mosaics as if they were common finds in an ordinary corner of the Levant. But Gaza was never an ordinary place. It sat at a crossroads where empires collided, where merchants traded spices for gold, where prophets walked, and where armies marched until the ground was thick with stories. What the world would eventually discover, piece by piece, decade after decade, was that the Gaza Strip was not merely a political flashpoint of the modern age, but one of the deepest, richest archaeological vaults on Earth, holding secrets that stretch across 5,000 years of human civilization. It begins with a moment almost cinematic in its silence. In 1920, as the sun spilled over the Mediterranean, archaeologists brushing the soil around an ancient mound suddenly recognized faint geometric patterns beneath the dust. What emerged was the first hint of the magnificent Byzantine mosaics that would captivate the world. Gaza, a place known today for conflict, had once been a center of art and Christian scholarship, so impressive that its mosaics rivaled those of Ravenna and Constantinople. The realization rippled through academic communities. The Gaza of antiquity had been prosperous, multi-ethnic, and deeply connected to the classical world. The discovery sent researchers deeper into the ground, where they found something even more astonishing. Gaza had been a major Philistine stronghold. To many, the Philistines were little more than biblical antagonists, the people of Goliath, the opponents of Samson. But the archaeological record uncovered in Gaza told a much more complicated story. Pottery styles, architectural fragments, and burial structures show that the Philistines were not monolithic enemies of Israelite folklore, but a sophisticated Mediterranean people with roots in Mycenaean Greece. They brought with them new art styles, new technologies, and a distinctive Aegean cultural flair that transformed the entire coastal region. Every shard of painted pottery that emerged from Gaza's soil forced historians to reconsider ancient narratives that had endured for centuries. Still, even these discoveries paled in comparison to what would come decades later. In the late 20th century, archaeologists working in the heart of Gaza uncovered what would become one of the most significant finds in Middle Eastern archaeology: the ruins of the ancient Greek city of Anthedon. Mentioned by writers like Strabo and Pliny the Elder, Anthedon had been long theorized but never conclusively located. Yet the evidence that surfaced in Gaza was undeniable. Massive stone structures, Hellenistic columns, and foundations of ancient warehouses proved that this was once a bustling port city connected to the entire classical world. It had been a gateway between the Mediterranean and the Orient, a vibrant center of maritime trade, culture, and political influence. The world watched in awe as reports surfaced of exquisite marble statues, Greco-Roman coins, and anchors that had once steadied the ships of ancient merchants. Gaza, long assumed to be peripheral in the classical era, was suddenly understood as central. Students, historians, and archaeologists flooded journal publications with studies on Gaza's role in the spiderweb of ancient trade networks. The discoveries reshaped the map of the ancient Near East, pushing scholars to reconsider long-held assumptions about the flow of goods, ideas, and people. But nothing shocked scholars, as well as the broader world, more than the discovery of the Gaza Church of St. Porphyrius mosaic, an extraordinary floor mosaic uncovered near Jabalia in 2022. What emerged from beneath an olive grove was an explosion of color and detail, a Byzantine masterpiece depicting birds, animals, foliage, and intricate geometric designs framed with inscriptions in ancient Greek. It was a window into a Christian community that had flourished 17 centuries earlier. The mosaic's beauty stunned the world. Its preservation was almost miraculous, and its complexity forced a re-evaluation of early Christian artistic expression in the region. Many had assumed that Gaza, due to its long history of strife, would yield only fragmented traces of its distant past. Instead, it unveiled one of the most complete and breathtaking mosaics ever found in the Levant. Art historians called it a treasure equal to the finest Byzantine works in Turkey, Jordan, and Italy. Photographs circulated globally, captivating millions and highlighting a side of Gaza rarely seen, a homeland of astonishing cultural richness. Yet this was only one thread of Gaza's vast historical tapestry. Beneath the layers of Byzantine beauty lay traces of empire after empire: Egyptian, Assyrian, Babylonian, Persian, Greek, Roman, Byzantine, Islamic, Crusader, Ottoman. Each had left fingerprints in the soil, and the deeper researchers dug, the more they found themselves standing at the crossroads of civilizations. One particularly fascinating discovery came when archaeologists uncovered remnants of ancient wine presses in the Gaza Valley. These presses, large stone-carved basins used to crush grapes, provided evidence for a forgotten fact. During the Roman and early Islamic eras, Gaza produced some of the most prized wine in the world, known as Gaza wine or wine of the Holy Land. Amphorae bearing Gaza's distinctive pointed bottoms have been found as far away as Spain and the Horn of Africa, proving that Gaza was once part of a massive Mediterranean trade economy. Its wine was famed for its quality, used in royal courts and religious ceremonies alike. The rediscovery of these presses shocked historians by revealing a Gaza that was not just culturally connected but economically powerful on a global scale. Archaeologists also found traces of advanced irrigation systems, ancient olive presses, and industrial workshops that demonstrated Gaza's long history as a center of agrarian production and craftsmanship. These discoveries painted a picture of a society far more complex and dynamic than many modern narratives acknowledged. The Gaza of antiquity had been wealthy, influential, and deeply interconnected with the civilizations around it. But the discoveries didn't stop with buildings or trade systems. One of the most emotionally powerful revelations came when researchers unearthed ancient cemeteries containing human remains dating back to the Roman and Byzantine eras. These burials were not simply skeletal artifacts that told stories of life, death, disease, and ritual. They revealed cultural blending, genetic diversity, and community structures that defied simplistic historical assumptions. Through isotopic analysis, researchers learned that the people buried in Gaza had origins from across the Mediterranean, North Africa, and the Near East. They were sailors, merchants, soldiers, farmers, mothers, children, ordinary people whose lives were woven into the vast historical fabric of the region. Their existence testified that Gaza was not a cultural endpoint but a crossroads through which people, ideas, and traditions flowed freely. Every layer of soil peeled back in Gaza revealed something older, something deeper, something unexpectedly profound. Excavations uncovered Bronze Age settlements dating back more than 3,000 years, proving that Gaza's earliest inhabitants had developed sophisticated urban structures long before the rise of classical empires. Archaeologists found evidence of trade with ancient Egypt: beads, pottery, and amulets bearing the marks of the pharaohs. These finds stunned Egyptologists, who had long believed that Gaza's relationship with Egypt was limited to military campaigns. Instead, the artifacts pointed to a thriving commercial and cultural exchange. Perhaps even more remarkable was the discovery of a Roman-era necropolis containing sarcophagi with ornate carvings, rare inscriptions, and symbols blending Roman, local Semitic, and early Christian iconography. Such a fusion of influences suggested that Gaza was not merely adopting cultural traits from foreign powers, but actively shaping a hybrid identity unique to its people. The discovery forced historians to reconsider the narrative of Gaza as a passive recipient of imperial rule. Instead, it emerged as a cultural innovator, a society capable of absorbing, reshaping, and transmitting ideas. With each discovery, something became increasingly clear to the world. The Gaza Strip, often defined in the modern imagination by conflict, was in reality one of the richest archaeological landscapes in the Middle East. It was a place where history did not lie quietly beneath the ground but surged upward every time a new trench was opened. The discoveries illuminated forgotten centuries and revealed a civilization that had thrived through countless eras, often against unimaginable odds. The world was shocked not simply because treasures were found, but because these discoveries dramatically shifted the understanding of Gaza's identity. They revealed a Gaza that had been a hub of global networks, a center of art and religion, an economic powerhouse, and a cultural bridge between continents. They showed a Gaza whose heritage belonged not only to local communities, but to all of humanity. In the end, what archaeologists discovered in Gaza was not just artifacts, mosaics, or ancient ruins. They uncovered stories of people who lived, created, traded, worshipped, and dreamed on the same soil where millions live today. They uncovered proof that Gaza's history was far older, richer, and more influential than most of the world had ever imagined. And as researchers continue to dig, the world waits, knowing that beneath the sand lies a past still capable of reshaping everything we think we know about the cradle of civilization.